We can go ahead.
Okay. You're able to see the screen, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So today, like, I'm going to show the stuff like how do you create a VPC and then subnets, private subnet, public subnet, and then a routable gateway. And along with that, we can spin up one VM, and I'll just show how does it look and how can we access it over the internet, and how can you create security groups and other things. We'll just stick to those things today. So you guys have access to AWS console. You have your registered accounts. You have.
No,
Okay.
no.
So this AWS guys like they'll provide a free account for a month. I think for 30 days trial version they'll give you. Okay. But the only thing is like we should provide a credit card details to them. Okay. So but anyway they're not going to charge anything from the credit card. Even though if you use the components like for a month, if the bill is some 7,000 or 8,000, like they are not going to debit it without asking you. Okay, so you have to pay the bill manually. So there is nothing that they are going to detect without asking you anything. So it is just for their security purpose. Like they will just take the credit card details from you, but they are not going to do anything with that. So they'll give you a 30 days trial account for you. So you can use the free to we have a free components like with that with those things like you can play around. Okay, so we were discussing about the VPC and other stuff in the last session. Okay, so I'll just show last session like we were stuck in creating the route tables and attaching it to the subnet. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning, like how to create the VPC subnets and other things. Okay, so I'll start with the VPC first. So create VPC. You can mention whatever the name you want. And so we already have one CIDF block which we have discussed on the I'm just giving the same thing. And it's an IPv4 and tenancy is the default. I'm just creating this. Okay. Okay. So the moment the VPC is created, I can say this as your data center now. Okay.
Okay.
So this gives you 256 IPs, and you can play around this with creating a routables and then allowing the firewall rules and then spin up the VMs and other stuff on this particular test VPC. You can see that as your data center now. And since you're not going to do anything on the VPC, so that's how the AWS is designed. That's just a virtual network. So if you want to use this network, you have to segregate this particular network into multiple subnets, and then you can start using it. So for that reason, I'm going to create multiple subnets. One is private and one is public. So I'm going to create a public subnet. So this is my VPC, and I'm not preferring availability zone. It's up to you. So this is my subnet one. Create, and then again I'm going to create a private subnet. My VPC and subnet two. Then create. Okay. So I have created my virtual network. From that virtual network, I have created subnets. One is a private subnet and a public subnet. As of now, there is no differentiation between these two guys because it's just a flat network. So to differentiate what is a public and what is a private, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gateway. Okay, so I'm going to attach this gateway to my VPC. That means your virtual network. Okay, so now it got attached. Okay, so coming to the route tables. Okay, so by default you'll be having routes created. Okay, the moment you create a VPC, right? But the moment you create a virtual network, you'll be having one route table created. So if you see this one, right? This is already. If I click on this thing, it will take you to the test VPC. Okay, this is the default one which will be created whenever the moment you create a VPC. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll create a separate route tables for public subnet and private subnet. See, here the route tables is nothing but that's just a kind of virtual router. So which tells you, okay, as of now I have a subnet which doesn't know what is the destination, how to go, in which way it has to go. Okay, so all the network things will work in the packets. Okay, as of now, like since I have a subnet and I'm not deriving the destination, how the packet should go. So without that, I can like even subnet cannot derive send the packet to the right area. So what I'm going to do is I'll just create a route table that is your router, which tells okay to which destination it has to go and what is the router. So as I said, I have differentiation between a public and a private. Okay, for public, if you want to differentiate, how means like you have internet gateway. The moment you have a gateway to that, you can say that as a public network. But the moment I say internet gateway is attached to the public, okay, so what is the destination? Like how in the which route I have to go and go out of my subnet? Okay, so which doesn't know as of now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just create a route table for that. I call it as a public route table, and I choose my VPC. Okay, so now my public route table is created. If you see here, my routes. Okay, so this is a default one. It becomes one the moment you create a routes. Okay, this is your subnet 172.31.10. That's the destination, and target is local. That means like within the destination, within the subnet, right? You can reach anywhere with this route. Say like whatever the TCP ports you are working on, whatever the internal ports you are working on. So all these things can be happened within the route. Okay, now I need internet gateway, which should take me out of that particular subnet and go out to the internet. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a route. So this means I'm just putting like 000/0 means it says like all IPv4 addresses are allowed.
You are saying that it's a default route, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So then everything will be allowed, correct?
Yeah, from whatever the VMs, right? Let's say specifically you want it from only a certain IP. Okay, so this particular public subnet is given for 128 IPs. Okay. Yeah. So if the moment I mention 000/0, like all these servers can go out of your subnet and connect to the internet. Let's say you want only one or two servers and the rest of the servers you don't want. So in that case, what you can do is specifically mention that IP address so that only those two hosts can connect to the internet, not the rest of the things, even though that sits in the public subnet. Okay, so I attached I created a route table and then I added a route for internet gateway as well. Okay, in the similar way, I'm going to create. Okay, and one more thing is like you with this route tables, not you can do like I told you right in the last session, like you can create multiple VPCs and you can peer between the VPCs, like you can connect between the VPCs as well. Okay, in that case, like you can what you can do is you can like put that particular IP address, whatever it may be, like this. And these are the things that are allowed in the route tables: instances, internet gateway, NAT gateway, network interface, peering connection, transit gateway, virtual private gateway. Like these are the things you can, for these things you can create a routes. Okay. So like for me, as of now, I need internet gateway. So I choose internet gateway and attached, like created a route. Let's say you have another VPC and you want it for peering connection between these two VPCs. You just select this and it, like, since we don't have anything, like it's not showing us. If you have any target, then the target will be highlighted here. You can choose that. In that way, like you can create route tables for these kind of things. Only for these things,
Okay.
not for the rest of the things, like instances, gateway, NAT gateway, other things.
Kanaya, I have a doubt
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a question actually. It's not a doubt.
Yeah.
So suppose I am a client. I am a service provider. Okay, so for one company. Okay, they given the contract. So from my company to I am connecting to the another company. Correct. So we use the
Right.
jump box. Correct.
Right.
I mean, jump box is nothing but a terminal server, which you can able to tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to add a particular terminal server. So whenever any from outsider he want to connect, okay, he has to connect through by this particular jump box. So in that case, which particular we can able to take?
Okay. So for that, you have to depend on the security groups. I'll show that one. When I create an instance, right, I'll show you like what is the security group and
Oh,
what rules I should develop for that.
then
I'll just go through that.
yeah, then what is the peering network?
Peering is between the VPCs. Okay, you have VPC now. Just save this thing. Okay.
So multiple
Yeah. So
VPC
you
now
have
we can.
one VPC now. Okay. This is one. I can say this has one data center, right?
Okay.
This test VPC is one data center now, and I
Mm-hmm.
have one more data center here. Okay.
Okay.
As of now, these two are loosely coupled. They are not tightly coupled.
Uh-huh.
Okay. There is no any relation between these two guys now.
Okay.
Okay. The moment I do a peering connection,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you want, say, like, let's say you want these two guys to talk each other. Let's say this sits in one region, this sits in one region, and
Okay.
these two data centers need a cross data center connectivity. And like you have one application in one data center, another application in other data center, and you want to be communicate between these two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In that case, like you can create a peer. That means you initiate, like, establish a connection between these two VPCs.
Okay.
Okay. For that, you need a route table.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you are like whatever happens, you are going out through the subnet only, right? Like, see,
I got it. Yeah.
outside us you will be seeing a VM only, but ideally the VM is sitting in a framework called subnet,
Correct.
right? Whatever happens, it internally happens over the subnet only. So that's the reason why how the subnet should go to the particular destination means, like, you should mention, okay, go via this route. That's it, nothing else. Like,
Okay.
okay, so I'm going to create a private route now. Okay, so I have the default one. I am not going to attach internet gateway since I want to make it like sit behind the firewall. I don't want the internet gateway to be allowed on this thing. So I have routables created now. I have a gateway created. I have a subnets created, and I have VPC now. Okay, so now subnets is not associated with the route tables. So what I'm going to do is just select this one. If you go to the subnet associations, you can see the two subnets here. One is a public and private. Edit subnets. So for public route table, I'm going to select public one so that it will have the internet gateway. Save. And I'll come to the private. Edit. Here I'm going to select private and then save. So, okay. So now each subnet has its own route table.
Okay.
So this guy has its own route table. If I see here, this guy has his destination as his local subnet mask, target as local. That means he can go through anywhere now, and he has internet gateway as well. And if you see for private, it's the same thing, other than internet gateway. Okay. So now I have VPC, I have subnet, route table, and internet gateway. Okay. So with these things, what I can do is I can spin up via VM. Okay. So now I'm going to spin up a VM, and I'll show you like a thing like what are the options you will be getting when creating a VM, and how can you differentiate between the public IP and the private IP, such kind of things. I'll just show you now.
Can I one doubt?
Yeah.
Actually, private this one is sits in the public this one gateway, no?
Sorry.
Private sits in the public this one, no?
Okay.
VM.
You mean the VMs?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, that's up to us. Okay. Let's say so we were talking about the jump box, right? Okay. Usually jump box will be allowed from like internet as well, and like it is kind of a dial box which is not having any application, but that's a kind of mediator. You log into that particular jump box, and from there you can connect to any of the VMs which are sitting behind the firewalls, right?
Okay.
So that's the basic funda of the jump box. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, you want the jump box to be in a public subnet.
Yeah.
But,
Because you want to access it from anywhere, like from the internet or from within the network, within the data center, whatever it may be. In that case, you create your VMs on the public subnet, and let's say you have VMs which are application servers which you don't want to allow over the internet or allow over the VPN. In that case, what you can do is you create VMs, put it in a private subnet, and you allow access only from the jump box. If I want to access that particular app VMs, then I should come to jump box, and from jump box I should access it.
Okay.
Kanaya.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt in between that.
Yeah, I know.
Now we talk about the jump box, correct? Normally it will be sit on the DMZ networks, correct?
Which one? The jump box.
Yeah.
No, jump box is kind of allowed to everyone, right?
Yeah,
That's the kind of.
No, but they will be keep it on DMZ networks normally because it will be exposed to public. Okay, but the thing is they are having security levels.
And that's what. So that security groups you can put here as well. So though it is allowed to public over the internet,
yeah,
you can put a fence around it, and you can tell who should access that particular VMs.
yeah.
So that you can control it over the security groups. I'll just show those things.
Yeah, because normally.
What I'm going to do is I'm create a jump box now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll create one VM in the private subnet, and we'll restrict that VM not to access from the internet.
Okay.
Only from the jump box.
Yeah, because normally what will happen, everything should not be exposed to the public.
Yes.
Even though it's a jump box, okay, there should be a particular authentication process should be there. So
Yeah, right.
That's what just I given a hint. That's it.
Yeah, right. See, the thing is like here you don't have a concept of DMZ and other things. Okay.
Okay.
You should control everything from the security groups only, your firewalls. So that's the thing.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the dashboard for your EC2. Okay, EC2 is nothing but Elastic Cloud Computing. Okay, so Elastic Cloud Computing in the sense like it's a combination of RAM, CPU, and all these things together. You can spin up a VM, and the name Elastic means you can do an auto scaling of the VMs. Okay, according to your need. Okay, you can grow the like depends upon you do auto scaling, and if you don't want that many, you can scale it down. So that's why so the name came as like Elastic Cloud Computing. Okay. So as of now, I don't have any running instances. So what I'm going to do is I'll just create an instance now. So as of now, it's blank. I'll just click on launch instance. Okay. So by default, AWS comes up with multiple flavors of operating systems. Okay. If you see here, right, like it comes up with Amazon Linux, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, and then Ubuntu, Windows, and it will have some predefined framework OMS as well. Say this one, Microsoft Windows Server 2009 with SQL Server 27. All these images will be having predefined software already installed. Okay. The moment you select and spin up this VM, you'll be having SQL Server 27 standard. Okay. In that way, like Amazon comes up with few predefined packages inbuilt. Okay. So if you have any such kind of requirements, like you just need to go through, like whether if you have things, if you see here, most of the SQL things are covered by these guys. And there are other things like this Node, React, other things. If you want such kind of things, like you can just find here. So we call these as AMIs, okay? Amazon Machine Images. Okay, so for us, I'm going to take one Windows box now. Okay, and if you see here, right, for each image, so they are mentioned this as a free tier eligible, this as a free tier eligible. Okay, this means you can spin up these VMs for free of cost. Okay, the moment this VM comes up, right, they are not going to charge anything from you. But if you see these things, right, this is not a freeware. Okay, so it is cost. So deep learning AMI, if you want to know like what is the cost of this particular AMI, then you just need to go to the pricing website, and then found like we can see like what is the price, and like how do they calculate in terms of seconds or minutes or hours or days or like that. But for your purpose, like if you want to learn or something you want to do, you can choose this free tier eligible, which means it's a free one.
Free, what is that product? Free tier eligible?
Yeah, free tier eligible. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to select this one since it's a free tier. Okay. If you see here, right, the next thing it will show you is what is the RAM, CPU, and then the storage things you want for that particular VM. Okay. If you see here, right, there are different types: T2 nano, T2 micro, T2 small, and like you have many things. From it varies from like the minimum standards to the maximum standards. Okay, depends upon your requirements. Like you have to choose the such things. But anyway, for us, I'll go with the free tier eligible, which comes with one CPU and 1 GB RAM. That's it. Okay, next. Okay. If you see here, right, okay, this is the configuring the instance details. Okay, number of instances you want, how many you want. As of now, like I'm just choosing one. Okay, and purchasing option, request spot instances. Okay, this is one of the best thing which AWS gives us. Okay, we have an auction, right? We like this wall this legacy things, like whatever the things you get in a museum, right? They'll put it in auction, right? In the similar way, what they will do is AWS guys, they'll allow few components and few instances, like they'll put it in auction. Okay, like say as of now I'm just selecting the free tier, right, which comes up with 1 GB and 1 CPU. Okay, and if let's say if you want to go for a 2 GB RAM or 4 GB RAM and 2 CPU, what happens, the cost price will be more. Okay, in that case, like what you can do is if you go for spot instances, so they will be having a kind of auction. Okay, so they will put a list of VMs which they can sell it for 50% off, a kind of thing. Okay, so there you can go for a bidding, and if you are quoting for a less price or something, like how the auction works is a similar thing, it works here as well. So if you are the one who won that particular auction with the bid or some whatever it may be, then you will be getting that for a less price or whatever it may be. Okay, initially like Amazon put some price on that particular instances. Okay, this many instances I'll give up with this price, and they'll start the bidding, and like the price will be increasing once the bid starts. So whoever finalizes with certain price, so they can use that particular instances with whatever the price the bidding happened. So that's the option of purchasing here. And network. Okay, so mine is test VPC. I'm just selecting that network, and I want this VM to be in a public subnet. So I'm just selecting the public subnet. Okay, since I'm going to create this in a public subnet, okay, to access this over the internet, I need a public IP. As of now, I have only private IP, which is assigned to these things. Okay, the moment I want this to be accessed over the internet, I just need a public IP. So what I'm going to do is, you have an option of auto assign public IP here. Okay, so enable. The moment I say enable, the moment your VM comes up, right, you will get a public IP and public host name, which is already like a DNS mapped. Okay, I'll show you once the VM comes up that. Okay. And capacity reservation is not that much required. Domain join, like we are not going to do all these things because like this is my corporate account. Okay. Domain join anyway, we're not going to do all these things because it's cost effective. And we have one more concept I just want to take you through is IAM role. This is a kind of AD. Okay, which IAM is nothing but identity access management. Okay. It's a kind of Active Directory only, Microsoft Active Directory, but this belongs to AWS. Okay, you can create users, you can create groups, and you can give roles and responsibilities to the particular users, and you can play with security, identity, all these things. I'll just take you through those things as well. Maybe next I'll take you through. Okay, and shutdown behavior. Okay, so the moment you do shutdown, what do you want, like a stop or terminate, that you can choose. Okay, tenancy, I told you, like whether it's a shared or you want a dedicated. So always we go for shared only, like tenant, like a dedicated will be costly. Elastic graphics, if you have any graphics required, you can choose this thing. Okay. These are the things available when you do a configuration for the configure instance details. That's the thing. I filled almost everything what is required for us, and then I'm going to the storage part. Okay, so by default you'll be having a C drive. Okay, that comes up with 30 GB. So if you want more, you can enable like whatever you want, you can put that. If you want 60 GB, you can put 60 GB. Okay, and this is the IOPS, input output, and this is 100 /3/3000, this one. Like if you want another volume to be added, you can create another volume here that comes up as a D drive or whatever it may be. So as of now, like I'm just creating only one drive and then proceeding to the next step.
Can I have one minute?
Yeah.
Can you go to that storage part? So here, what type of volumes we are selecting? What is that volumes actually?
Okay, so this I'm not much aware of these things, the volume type. Okay, but each has its own this thing. Like let's say if you are if your application is much oriented on IOPS, right, input output operations, and per second like it do some hundreds and thousands of IO operations. In that case, you can go for this provision IOPS SSD. Okay, this will give you best input output operations kind of thing. Okay, if you have such kind of requirement. Okay.
Just to add, Kanaya, this is actually more of there are different kind of storages in the market. So
different kind of storages, but again it depends upon. Okay, so this one, right, provision IOPS SSD means if your application is much more oriented on input output operations. Okay, rather than writing your data to the database, if it writes to the hard disk very frequently, per minute, it do some 5,000 IO operations or something like that. In that case, like you cannot go for this general purpose. Okay, general purpose is just for normal storage, and if you see here, right, your IO operations are very less. Okay, so if you go for provision, right, this will give you the best IO operation, which best suit for your application in case like you completely depend on file storage or something like that. Okay, magnetic standard, this I am not aware of it. I am aware of this one and I am aware of this thing. The single purpose is not just a storage purpose kind of it's normal IOPS.
Because being your corporate account, okay, they have selected this one. So when you get the free account, what storage it will be given to us?
It is general purpose,
No, sir.
See, this volume type is like
you go to magnetic,
whether it's a free account or it's a licensed account, it remains the same. Okay, and like even your IO per second, if you see the input output per second is 3,000 here, even this remains the same. There is no change in that. Okay, so the one more advantage here is, okay, if you choose this one, right, for general purpose, this is fixed. 180/300. So this is the min and max. Okay. So if I choose my IOPS, right, provisioned IOPS, okay, you have an option of changing according to your need. Let's say your input output per second is 10,000 or something, then you can give that particular value or more than that and then create it. Okay. Your IOPS will be having that kind of capacity, you can get it. Okay. So that doesn't matter it's a free account or licensed account.
Okay.
Okay, so I will go with the general purpose only because I am not going to do anything now. And you this one is you see this one, right? Device / dev. This is kind of mount you are going to get it there.
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah. Well, just this is a tagging section, nothing else.
Tagging section in the sense we have to give our own name or this one?
Yeah, it's up to yours. You just if you value any, you can give any tag name according to your requirement. That doesn't matter. Okay. So coming here, okay, you are asking, right, Partha, like, okay, how can I restrict users not to access this jump box?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the section. Okay, this is the security group. Security group is nothing but a firewall rule which you are going to be putting for your instance. Okay. So I already have a one. Okay, I'm not going to use this. Okay, I'm just going to create a new one. Okay, fine. Okay, so this security groups is like kind of a firewall which acts as a barricade for each instance. Okay, let's say I'm creating instance now, jump box, right? It will be having its own security group. Let's say you are creating one more VM and you one more VM. Okay, in that way, like each VM has its own security group. You can use kind of similar kind of rules, or you want as dedicated rules for that particular instance, you can create that as well. Okay. So since this is a jump box, it needs a dedicated group. Okay. So like I don't want everyone to access, and I need only few percent to be accessed over the internet. Such kind of things means, okay, the first rule is RDP. RDP and the protocol is TCP port range 3318. This is the default port for the RDP, remote desktop protocol. Okay. So with this, what I can do is I can allow my VM to allow access on this particular port. And source I mentioned here 000 means anyone can access this particular one. Okay, let's say you don't want in like anyone, and you have a kind of requirement of blacklisting those guys, then you can just mention those guys IP 10 whatever it may be 10 10 and then comma 10 whatever it may be. You can allow in this way. So whatever the IPs put here, only those guys will be allowed. Rest of the things are blocked. Okay. So in the similar way, like if you have any other things, you can put, like there are many available protocols here, like HTTP, HTTPS, LDAP, and SMTP, all these things. According to your requirement, like you can select. Let's say if it is a Linux box, you just select SSH, TCP, and port 22. You mention like what are the IPs needs to be widely, and then like review and launch, so that your security group will be allocated for that particular instance. So as of now, since it's a Windows box, I just need a RDP, and since I need to allow, I'm allowing everything as of now. But if you want to be blacklist, you just put individual IPs or the IP range, so that only those guys can access this particular VM from the internet. So review and launch. Okay. So this will give like whatever the things we have done till now. So we can see all these things. What are the instance details, storage, tags, and all these things. Okay. The moment I say launch.
1 minute. They given the one warning here. Your instance config is not eligible for the free for the usage of trial. Something it is given.
Configuration is not eligible for the free usage. No, this is free tier only.
Because you have increased the storage to 60.
Yeah, I think so.
You can make it 30, then it will be
Yeah, that's one.
And even storage also need to be changed, I think.
This one is changed. I'm just using the same.
Magnetic it is there, na? I think magnetic disk they will be given free, not anything else, I think. Just check it out if you want.
General is
Fine. Okay, that's one now. Because of the storage we increased, right?
Yeah, no.
Comes
Actually,
with additional
SSD always, they will be put you in the charge because you are a corporate account. Okay, you will use by default general. So
we are using general, but that comes up with 30 GB. That's the eligibility of the free tier. What I did is like I increased 30 GB more, so that's why the added cost there.
Yeah.
Okay, so here there is one more warning: improve your instance of security. Your security group open to the world. Okay, because we allowed everything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why they are giving that particular error warning message. Fine. I'm just clicking launch. Okay. So by default, this AWS VMs comes up with a key value pair to access the VMs. Okay. So what you have to, for even the Linux or Windows servers, right, it comes up with a key value pair. Like if you want to act like in our corporate VMs, like what you're going to just integrate that with the AD and you can just give a username password. So you just log into the VMs with username password. Okay. But here, so for the security reason, so they were not allowing in that way. So what you have to do is like how you use in Linux, right, the public key and private key to access your VMs. In the similar way here as well, like you have to access the VMs in a similar way. That is for Linux. Even for the Windows, for the first login, you have to do with the key value pair, but you can decrypt the whatever the key you get, right, that key can be decrypted and get the password from the AWS console itself, and then you can log in. Once the login happens, then you can create your own username, password, or you can integrate that particular thing to VM, whatever things you can do. But the initial thing is you need a key pair for Windows or Linux. So I'm going to create a new key pair and just put Windows. I'm just downloading my key pair. Okay, and then launch instances. Okay. Now it is coming up. If you see here, this is my instance ID. Instance type is t2.micro, which comes up with one CPU and one RAM. And availability zone, it has created an EU West 1C. It's still in pending. Status checks initializing. Okay. If you see here, I can see a public DNS IPv4. Still DNS is not happened, but you'll still see public IP is already allocated for this one. 35.250.144.0. This is my public IP. So once my VM comes up, then the DNS will be registered, and then I can see a DNS of this one. Let the instance come up. Let it come up. So this is my private IP, and this is my private DNS. Okay, so and one more thing is like I told you, this is DHCP. This always use a dynamic IP, right? So what happened is, let's say I have this instance running. Okay, for some reason this instance got collapsed. So what happened is like this IP will be lost. The moment you spin up another VM, it comes up with other IP, and the same with the public IP as well. Okay, you got the point, right? What I'm saying? Yeah. So there are situations like where your VMs will be keep on doing like getting destroyed and then again getting created. What happens is these IPs will be keep on jumbling. Okay. In that case, what you have to do is, so even this public IP will get changed for you in that case. So there is a concept called elastic IP. Okay. So for your jump box, right, it has to be constant. So it like if you give a public IP to your end user, right, it should be a constant. Like you should not keep on changing that one. Okay. In that case, what you do is let the private IP be DHCP. DHCP, dynamic IP. And instead of using auto assign public IP, what we have to do is we have to use elastic IP. Okay, elastic IP comes up with a one, like I'll just show you that as well. Okay, if you come here, you have a concept of elastic IPs. Okay, if you the moment you mention like allocate new address, for that particular VPC, it will create one public IP. Okay, and this is not going to be destroyed as long as you use it. Okay, so what you're going to do is you use this, whatever you are going to get, right, allocate new address. You when spinning up a VM, right, what you have to do is instead of auto assigning, you have to mention whatever is being got from here. Otherwise, you can come here and there is an option here to auto assign instance settings or somewhere. You can assign that particular IP as well. I'll just show you, but this is costly. This elastic IP is costly. Okay, whether you use it or not, it will be chargeable. It will be chargeable in terms of hours. It's still running.
Kanaya.
Yeah.
So this is a question regarding the VM creation, it's like instant creation. Now I have a requirement of more than 2 network interfaces.
Okay.
So that time where we'll edit these settings.
Okay, by network interfaces, but those things will come as a default. Like you are not going to be, that's not an editable thing for you. If you see here, right, this comes up with the default thing, ETH0. Okay.
Correct. Now I want, see, that's what I said. They said that it is customizable. Correct. Where is the customizable option for me to see that? Because you assume that I have an appliance, okay, which is the appliance sitting inside my legacy network. Now that particular one I am moving into the cloud. Okay.
Okay.
And I have my own public IPs. Okay, as you shown me, that elastic IPs. Correct. We have our option. Correct.
Right.
We have our own this thing. So here that appliance having 4 NIC cards.
Okay.
Okay, each NIC card will have its own public IP.
Right. Yeah.
So to transfer the load or something like that. Okay. Now I want to assign that one to this particular that instant. Okay. So how I can able to do that?
Okay. How is it in your like how is it in our current legacy thing? Like you have 4 network interfaces available for that instances? Or
yeah, I'll tell you. Actually, there is a one particular appliance called. You may heard about that. 1 minute, I will tell you. I forgot that appliance name. 1 minute, let me tell you. Actually, it's a WAN optimizer.
Okay.
Okay. So, Silver Peak.
Okay.
Did you heard about that?
No, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
No, you have to tell. Yep.
Yeah. It's like because we have a 4 or 5 branches in around the world. Correct.
Right.
So whenever the main data center would be in somewhere in US or UK in some place, and from the India, whenever you are accessing the resource, suppose I am accessing some data, which is having 10 GB of data. Now when I am downloading the 10 GB of data, okay, every time 10 GB you keep on downloading.
Right.
Or anything if you are making up again 10 GB again it will goes. That's what actually in the network concept what ASA will do.
Right.
In the Cisco ASA, and if you do any routing content, okay, this will be do's like that.
Okay.
But actually it is a huge loss for the business purposes. Because in between that, if any of ISP having issue or anything, the data cannot be transferred, so it will be cancelled. Again, it will restart the data transfer.
Okay. Right.
So here the company will be utilize the more download upload these things.
Bandwidth.
So the bandwidth will be lost.
Okay. Okay.
What the silver peak will do, it is having a QoS.
Okay.
So here, suppose I am transferring the data of 10 GB. First time it will transfer the 10 GB of data.
Okay.
But next time, whenever any person, whenever they are wants to do some modification on that particular 10 GB of data, it will having its own algorithm. It's having the smartness of detecting what is the data changed.
Okay.
So only that bits can be transferred. Means it will comes to the KB.
Right.
It's not going to this thing. And moreover, if you have a 2-3 ISPs like I have a Airtel, I have a Reliance, I have a Tata like that. So redundancy links are there, correct? Normally any company will, when we planned it, it will plan it for a redundancy.
Right.
So here 50 MB, 50 MB, 50 MB lease lines are there.
Right.
Normal, if you go to the Cisco ASA type of thing, only 50 MB can be utilized. So another 100 GB, 100 MB, it is not at all utilized.
Okay. Right.
But I want to make it utilized. So what it will do, this particular 3 internet channels will be get connected to my appliance, Silver Peak appliance.
Okay.
From there, I will make a QAS, means quality of service.
Okay.
Which are the business needed application that will give the higher priority. We have that value, correct? In the networking, we will give the value. So those values will create, then it will be works. And whenever I am coming to this is what the functionality of the device.
Okay.
And moreover, whenever we are doing this thing, it is MAC binded.
Okay.
This IP should be MAC binded.
Okay.
So if interfaces are changed or anything swapped or something like that, the device will go down. Means it won't give the connectivity. So due to that reason, what we will do whenever we are doing any of the changes or something like that,
you'll be having that multiple network interfaces.
Multiple network with the same naming convention.
Okay.
So that what we'll do, the MAC address we will paste it on that, because we have an option, correct? In the ESX everywhere it is there. You can able to change the MAC ID. So for that, if such type of applications, how I can able to do that?
Here everything comes up with by default. Okay, the only thing is it's a configurable part. The rest of the things will be happened in the backend itself. See here, right? This network interface. It's a kind of group of your networks and private IP and the public IP. Okay, so we are doing just configuring these things. Okay, and not rest of the things. So by default, the moment you spin up a VM, it has attached this ETH0 as network interface.
This is the
default, these things we are not mentioning anywhere, and by default it is taken care by the backend of the AWS itself. And there is no possibility of adding, deleting this Ethernet and adding one more Ethernet. Okay. So, but your requirement we can do, but we need to find out a way for this use case. I'll just go through it once. Maybe in the evening, I'll just find a way for that.
Because why I asked this question, we will be working on projects and services. The customer can able to come up with any sort of requirement because we can. So if these options are not available, then we cannot able to do that migration.
Right.
So these things need to be known by us. So that's what I asked.
Fine. I'll just go through it, but that's what. So this AWS makes our life very easy. Okay, you just need to put whatever things you want, and it will do everything for us. Okay, so that's one of the drawback. It will make us very lazy. So we need to find out a way. How can we do that? But by default, these guys will give us one Ethernet. It will not allow us to do multiple Ethernet. And once it is created, you cannot do a customization of these things. So I'll just go through the things. If you have any possibility, I'll just check.
Because certain applications are predefined.
Right.
It's not publicly available because I will be working for previously I worked for one healthcare. So each and every software will be developed by our own.
Okay.
We're not depending on any others. We have a huge development team to create that application.
Okay.
So whenever in that case, okay, what they will do, they had a certain constants. Okay, so the naming should be like that. Okay, the network card should be like that. The disk spacing should be like that.
Okay, okay.
So in this option, I not seen. Already they had predefined as per their requirement, and
Right.
if it is matching,
Right.
we need to take. Otherwise, we cannot do anything.
Right,
So
exactly.
in that case, we cannot able to go ahead with all the stuff. Correct.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
that is what actually I would like to see.
Okay, we'll be having something, but we need to find it out.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
in that
Yeah.
case, WAM optimization and all those things, it comes to in our own data center, we can create those things. But
Sir, I taken as an
AWS,
example,
in
sir.
cloud, it's not possible, you know.
Sir, I taken as an example, sir.
Uh-huh. No, I am telling that one because in our own data, in my previous organization also, we were working in the riverbed. That is a WAN optimization tool. That is a riverbed tool. We are using that one. That time we are using that one. When you moved into cloud, but in the riverbed, we are not using the riverbed. That's the reason I am taking that one.
No, sir. Riverbed concept is entirely different, and Silver Peak concept is entirely different. Riverbed only do the authentication process.
Uh-huh.
Like if you have a remote anywhere, if you have two offices which is doesn't need anything, okay, only Windows authentication need to be done. Server need not to be placed. That time we will use the Riverbed.
No. Even though WAN optimization is also there, and we
Yeah,
are
that is only the
downloading
thing.
those things and all those things. We doing that one also.
Only that is the only concept. It won't do the load balancing, and QAS it cannot be do.
Uh-huh. No. QS load balancing also there. I mean, lagged into riverbed. That option is there.
Because we have bought these two, Riverbed and Silver Peak, and another thing also. Riverbed cannot able to take multiple connectivities. Like I told you now, 50 MB, 50 MB, 50 MB, 3 links if you take, you cannot able to merge 3 into one network. It is having separate.
No. In previous organization, we are doing that like that only. We multiple service provider in Tata and this one Reliance. We are both are merged into that one. That is the reason we are using a riverbed.
Maybe that I'm not aware of that. Okay, actually when we have gone through Silver Peak, we've done in a good one. So that's
Silver
what,
Peak, I don't have an idea, but the riverbed then we are using that one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a little bit knowledge in the riverbed.
And moreover, in this concept, I taken as an example. Okay, there are certain legacy links. Like I cannot able to tell that entire my servers would be moving to cloud. Only the one location I can able to make it into the cloud, and others should be on the legacy. So that time for the connectivity, what you will do, sir? You require your the appliance. You can assume that we have 3 locations. One is in US, another one is in somewhere in India, and another one is in Africa. Okay, in Africa region, very difficult to maintain the network and all. So I don't want any admin should be sit there. So what I will do entire things in the cloud. But US I have a team, in India I have a team. These two I am having the physical networks, like legacy.
Okay.
In that case, okay, how you will be interconnectivity, sir? This need a WAN optimizer, na again.
Yeah.
So that's depend upon our the way how we will do that. But basically, a requirement how it will come, so we doesn't know, na. So that's what I bring up this point. So there is no other these things.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this instance is up now. So I'll just try to do an RDP for this and see how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the public IP, and by default, username is administrator, and you have public key for this. You just need to convert that. What you have to do is open this public key. this is my password.
Okay. Administrator.
Okay, so this is my, I can say this has my jump box now. Okay, and I told you like how can you restrict the users not to access this VM from the internet. So you can go to use.
Hello.
Access this. You can just like here. You go here, like as of now, I load everyone here. You have inbound rule and outbound rule for this. As of now, I load everything. Like let's say if you want a specific IPs, you just edit and then put only that IPs here, so that you will be allowed only those guys. And along with that, but you have an inbound and outbound for this in each instance. Okay, who has to come in and who has to go out. Okay. So as of now, everything is allowed here. Like even if you want to have any customization required here, you just mention, okay, what are the things that should go out of this from this particular VM. You mention even that as well, and then like you can manage those things. Okay, so now I have created a jump box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more instance. I can create one VM in a private subnet, and then I'll allow that particular VM should be accessed only from the jump box, not from the internet. Launch instance, selecting 3 tier 1. I'm going with T2 micro. Next, I just need one instance, and then I'm selecting the VPC. I want this to be in private subnet, so I'm just putting in private subnet, and I don't want any public IP for this since it is a private, and the rest of the things remains the same. I don't need any changes here. Placement, group capacity, domain join, none of these things we are using now. So I'm just proceeding with next. And I'm going with 30 GB by default. I'm just creating the tag here. Okay, so here this is the security group. Okay, so anyway RDP is required on port 3389, but I don't want it to be everyone. I want it only from the jump box. Okay, so what is my jump box IP? Okay, so this is my jump box IP. And just put that thing, that's it. Not anything else, because I need it only from the jump box. And then review and launch. The source IP
is blocked.
Miss slash 20 120 that need to be there. Yeah, 30.
Okay, launch. I'm going to create a new key pair for this. Launch instances.
We can able to edit the instant ID, correct?
Sorry? No, this is a AWS generated one.
We cannot able to edit that.
No. This is editable field. Your tag. That's it. This ID and all these things comes up with their own internal logic of AWS.
Okay. Because when we create the VM, it should be in our naming convention, correct?
No, but this comes up with AWS naming convention itself. This what?
And another important feature, like not to terminate, disable termination of any of the instance. Anaya?
Sorry, Moses.
There is, there is a not to terminate the instance, right? You can disable the termination for those instances because sometimes what happens is the instance will delete accidentally just to avoid. Because once because I have been working with some company that time I deleted something and it gone out from AWS and could not able to recover.
Yeah, once it is terminated, that's it. It's not a recoverable. We cannot do the recoverable things.
That's why we can make that VM as disabled for termination.
Yeah, that depends upon the application. So let's say you go for Dockerization, like containerization concepts, right? What you're going to do is you use Linux VMs. Okay. In that case, you use this Docker concepts. So what happens is like you can have that orchestration of managing these Dockers with the Linux VMs. If something happens to the particular VM, anyway, like you can recreate in a fraction of seconds. But the problem is if you are on Windows and you are hosting your application on .NET or such other kind of things, right? We should be very careful. Otherwise, if it got terminated, means that's it, gone case.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my password. So what I'm going to do now is I'm on home network. Okay. Anyway, I'm able to access this public IP one 34.250. I'm just trying to access this 172 as well now. See, I can access it or not. So I'm not able to access this one since the security group we allowed is only through jump box. And one more thing is we don't have any public IP for this. That's the reason why we are not able to access this over the internet. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just try to access this from the jump box. Okay, so I'm able to connect. Okay, anyway, this came up like you can manage the things like this. So you don't have a concept of DMG here. So whatever the restrictions you want in terms of security, you can manage it from the security groups itself. Okay, let's say if you have an requirement between the subnets, then you can what you can do is you can go to the VPC. You have a concept called NACLs, Network Association. This thing. 1 second, I'll show you that. Okay, so this one, the network ACLs. Okay. So here, what you have to do is you can put the restriction between the subnets. Okay, as of now, whatever the ACL ID I have, this is 2 subnets I have. I have inbound rules and outbound rules here, which is allowed for everything. If you see here, right, I have allow for everything, which is allowed everything on all traffic for any of the IPs and even outbound as well. Okay. If you want to put a restriction here, right, what we can do is we can create a network ACL. Okay. And what you can do is like you can segregate the subnets who has to communicate between the subnets. Let's say I have given an example like in our last discussion, right? Like you have a web layer and you have an app layer and you have a DB layer. So web layer guy should not directly speak to the DB guy. Only your app layer should speak. In that case, what you can do is for the web and DB layer, you can put a barricade with this network ACL so that both cannot talk each other, and only app should be talked. So these kind of subnet restrictions, it's an additional security thing you can provide over the subnet. Security group acts as a firewall at the instance level, and network ACL acts as the security at the subnet level. That's the major difference you see between the network ACL and the security groups. Any questions till now?
No, actually, once we have to go through, then we will get a questions.
Yeah, that's what. The best thing is like, okay, you can create one free account, okay. So nothing will happen. So you just give the credit card details, but even we tried in the similar way, okay. So we have given the credit card, but there's nothing going to happen. It's just for their security reasons, they'll collect the details from us, but they're not going to charge anything. So if you want to kickstart with doing all these things, then definitely you need an account. Without having an account, there is no listening and just keep silent means like the next day you'll forget these things.
Yeah.
So you need a hands-on, then only like you can get a well knowledge on these kind of things.
And whatever options you tried, it will works in a free account, is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We'll try.
Your networking things are absolutely free. Your VPC, subnet, route table, internet gateways, egress, all these things are free. Okay, your elastic IP is chargeable, and your NAT gateway is chargeable, and then instances. Even instances, you have to choose free tier.
Free tier. Okay.
Yeah. So that way, like you can absolutely play with these things. Okay, this is the UI way, but okay. But coming anyway, we're not going to use these kind of things creating manually. Okay, so in our real world, you're going to use this thing in a scripting manner. Okay, so mostly, but probably Monday I'll share the scripts. Okay, so we have different, like you have different this thing cloud technology partners where you can use Terraform, you can use Ansible, and there are some other providers where you can use coding to spin up the network, VMs, whatever it may be. Each and everything of your cloud thing can be spinned up from the infrastructure as a code. Okay. So that particular scripts I'll be sharing it on Monday. Okay, and I'll just go through that part, like what each component means, like how do you connect to your account, and all these things. Like I'll just go through that particular code, and I'll hand over it to you. You can modify it according to your custom, and then you can give a try on that as well. First, you try UI part. Yeah. How you're going to create a VPC, subnet, route, and all these things. If you have anything, if you have any questions, then you can come up on Monday. I'll go take you through those things, and then I'll take you through the scripting part.
Kanaya, I have.
Yeah.
Now we have selected 2019 as a VM.
Yes, yes.
Correct. So is there any free, can you able to check like 2012, whether 2016?
You will be having it. We need to find it out. Let me check once.
Yeah. And how about the AD? Suppose if I create an Active Directory in AWS, is it chargeable?
You can use an IAM part, okay. IAM is a kind of AD which is completely owned by the AWS itself. So that you can play around it. I'll take you through that as well. Okay, because that's mandatory thing. You should be known like how to create users, groups, and then put restrictions for the roles and other things. I'll take you through those things on Monday.
Yeah, the thing why I asked this question is, suppose if I create one VM, okay, means as per AWS, this thing, it should be like instant, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I created one instant, okay, and in that I have created my own, this thing like a domain. Okay, something like, testdomain.com, something I have written. Okay. And when I try to add to that same domain, okay, so when I'm adding the domain to my own this thing, it will be chargeable? Because
okay, so the domain, okay, so the thing is AWS has its own domain. Okay. If you see the instances, right, you click on the instances,
yeah,
this comes up with its own DNS, okay. If you see here, EU West 1 compute internal, this cannot be changed anything. And you cannot create your own domain here, like our on-premise thing. Okay, if you have any such kind of thing, like you want to be based on domain and you want to have users to be authenticated via domain, that is not possible. Okay, so what you have to do is like how I'm doing now, right? I'm for logging into this particular VM, this particular UI. What I'm doing is I'm using SAML integration from my AD. Okay, so that's a big process. That's kind of SAML integration. Like from internet, you go to your AD and then come back, authenticate, and then come back and open this UI. Okay, this is kind of a long process.
Radius
but
authentication.
The VMs part, right? You will be not having. You cannot use your domain. Okay, so you have to use your AWS domains itself, and you have to use your AWS account itself for logging into the VMs. If you want those VMs to be integrate with your AD, then what you have to do is there is a concept of AWS Direct, okay, which allows you to connect to cloud to on-premise. Okay. With that particular interface, what you have to do is your AD sits in your on-prem, and you have your VM sits in cloud. With AWS Direct, go to your AD on-premise, authenticate, and then come back and then verify whether this is authenticated user or not. So that way you have to deal, but you cannot create a kind of domain which you need here, and then so that is not possible. It kind of.
Okay, let me check on that.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
As my part, as of now, no.
One thing. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Kanaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of tenancy, right? We have kind of shared and dedicated. What is that, physical significance of that?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
There is a tendency, right?
Right. Yeah.
Something called shared or dedicated.
Right.
Something like that. So what is the physical, the importance of those? If you can elaborate a bit on that.
Okay. If you see in our on-premise, right, you have it. You in the data center, right? You'll be having your data sits in rack, like your hardware sits in racks. Okay. You will be having a kind of racks where your hardware will belongs to, like each rack having one certain range of IPs kind of thing. Okay. So but what happened is, if you say shared means, let's say I have a rack with hardware of some 80 CPU and then some 500 GB, like 5000 GB of RAM or something, and then I have a range of IPs. Okay. The moment I share shared means, along with me, there are someone else who can use that particular rack. Okay. Well, shared resource in the sense your RAM will be getting used, CPU getting used, your IPs will be getting used, and your IO operations, everything will be used there, storage, everything. Okay, so that there is no drawback here. Depends upon your need. Let's say you are more oriented on this RAM and CPU. Like your application takes more CPU and RAM. In that case, if you go for shared resources, right, what happens is you'll be getting less amount of usage there. Okay, your application requires more CPU on this thing. So what happens is even the other guy is using your rack. So what happens is by end of the day, definitely you will be having the problems. Like your application needs more. The moment it goes beyond, application may go to hung state. You have to reboot. Such kind of things you can see there. So the advantage of going with a dedicated is you'll be getting a dedicated rack. Whatever the RAM, CPU, IP ranges, storage, everything will be there. That is only for you. Depends upon your need, you can extend, you can decrease, whatever thing you can do, it's up to you only.
Yeah.
But the only thing is it's costly. It's cost because what is only for you means, but even the charge will be more on that.
Correct. Yeah, thanks, Kanaya. I think. Yeah. So, any other questions? Anything?
No.
So we'll do it on Monday. Is it okay, or what is the day next day? Partha and
Monday.
No, first, Partha and Basuraj, first you can go, first you create an account, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
And
Sure.
go through the UI part of how to create the network and the instances, okay? Once you have a better idea on that, then we can go to the next concepts, because these are the basics you need to be aware of it first.
Yeah, correct.
Then we can go through the next steps. So it's up to you, okay? First you create an account and then try these things manually. So once you say, okay, you are good enough, we can proceed, then we can proceed. In between, like if you have any queries, like you just let me know. You can ping me or call me anytime. I'll be available.
Okay.
So I'll just take you through that thing. Anyone can call me. It's not only
yeah, no problem.
So that's what. So once you guys have a confidence on, okay, this I'm completely aware of it, and you have some queries, right?
Yeah, definitely, sure.
Okay. So anyway, like AWS documentation will be really clear. So it's a kind of anyone can easily understand the concepts of AWS by seeing the documentation itself. Okay, if you have any queries, like you just go through that, and if you are not able to, you just call me up. So that's not a problem. So once you tell me like, okay, so we are good enough here, and then I'll go to the next thing.
Yeah, but what is just for a tentative date? For example, next week sometime, mid of the week, or next weekend, or some kind of
Yeah.
What is that you think? You guys think?
I think Monday. I don't want to Monday. Partha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, already we have very clearly, discussed this one in the last discussion itself. The classes should be on weekends or something like that. Am I correct?
So shall we do it on next Saturday then?
Yeah, because why, in the sense, okay, everybody is in their schedule. You know, it's difficult to catch up by this stuff.
Okay, I mean we can do that on Saturday, but if at all anything we can have an opportunity in between a week, because what happens is it takes at least at least 2 or 3 classes in a week. That way, we'll be able to complete in a month.
Yeah, that is only the thing. Okay, what I intention to say is Saturday, Sunday, and any Monday in between that. If you keep, that should be fine.
Okay, okay.
If you go more than 3 classes, again it's difficult actually to catch up the the speed.
Okay. So now the next session will be on the next Saturday.
Yeah, first 2 sessions will be very less time because we have to create an account, sync up with that,
Yeah.
Those stuff, and
Next
once.
Saturday we'll do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And next is I think 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll have at the same time. If there is any time adjustment required, then we'll do accordingly. Otherwise, also any question or something, directly we can call connect.
Yeah, definitely. Once you will create the login accounts and huge bundle of questions, it will arise. Definitely.
No problem.
Yeah.
Then we will hang up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Kanaya. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you very much.
Partha?